also think I come from like a really traditional news background. I worked at Forbes magazine before I worked at Fashionista, so coming from that background, I think the reason why traditional media is kind of grabbing onto it, and there are a lot of people that work in traditional media that get it. They get that they need to go online, they get that they need to, but a lot of them don't. And suddenly they're getting really scared because more and more people who write only online have more and more influence, and they're kind of like, instead of embracing it and saying, hey, maybe I should be doing that or doing my own thing, they're afraid, and therefore they're kind of just anything that they can pounce on and talk about, they're doing that, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I think that, I mean, Nick and I started Show Studio in 2001. Yeah, I mean, like a decade ago. And the scary part is, in 5 years, it's going to be like, oh, the iPhone, yes, such advanced technology. Like, it's just, like, the way that, I remember there was, like, this old Lindsay Lohan Disney Channel movie where she was video chatting with her friends about what they're going to wear, and that was so technologically advanced to me, and now that's whatever. And you don't have to be, like, a spy on Disney Channel to do it. I mean, but yeah, the scary part is that it's only going to get more and more crazy, and this sort of reluctancy from many different types of people in the industry is sort of, I mean, you have to move with it because it's not slowing down.
Well, you know, one thing that I've also noticed is kind of like, I feel like some of, you know, the journalists or whatever, I mean, some of them are like threatened at the end of the day.
Totally.
I know. I mean,
yeah.
just like, you know, I mean, newspapers are like folding left and right. Same with magazines. So.
Yeah, that's totally what it is.
Yeah.
And instead of doing what they should do and moving online and kind of figuring their own thing out, because there's tons of space for everybody online. That's the great thing about the web. They're really scared and just kind of recoiling, and that's what that's why I think there's so much attention, not on like people like me and Britt, because we write a news site, so I think they're less interested in us as people, but on you guys, because you're suddenly getting all this attention that they used to get, and your opinion matters in a lot more instances than theirs does, and I think unfortunately a lot of people can't accept that, and they need to, or they're going to be irrelevant.
So, sorry.
Well,
so,
as go ahead.
I was just gonna take that comment and ask you guys, like, how, like, so we're talking, it's huge. Like, I was interviewed by the CBC on Tuesday about the blogger versus editors debate, and sitting in front row. And I just thought it was interesting their perspective that, you know, bloggers were being used as gimmicks and this is all this new thing, but, you know, I personally have seen this bloggers versus editors debate, you know, ever since I've been blogging. There's been this kind of riff-raff between print and online media. So how do you guys, that you're in it and you're the subject of it, like, how do you feel about this? Like,
well, I just kind of feel like all this talk, you know, we're not really concentrating on the matter at hand, which is what content bloggers themselves are putting out. Instead, we're concentrating on bloggers as individuals and as these kind of phenomenons, or, you know, sort of freak beings, really, which I find, you know, a little bit offensive. And to be honest, I just feel like people should just let them get on with it. You know, we've established that they're one strand of fashion medium. Like, you know, not to say that, you know, magazines are completely irrelevant and redundant. You know, they're just another strand. And to be honest, I just don't understand why there's so much fuss and talk.
It seems like a lot of the fuss is made up. I mean, you know, this week I've seen you guys we're all at shows together, and you know, and Vogue's there too, and you know, the Telegraph is there too, and everyone's happy, and you know, nobody's like, oh, she stole my seat. Like, she's front row, so I'm not front row. And you know, and they're both. I want to know what Vogue has to say, but I also want to read, you know, your review of the Alex show, and I want to read Nicole Felch's review of the Alex show, and like that. It's all interesting, and if you don't want to read it, the great thing is you don't have to. But you know, there's room for everyone, everybody who wants to have a voice, and I think, you know, the more the merrier.
And I think that what you said, a lot of it is kind of made up. Like, I think it started to sort of come back and gained a little more momentum when, or this is what some journalists have been saying, because a Razia writer was sitting behind me and couldn't see because I was wearing a hat. But it's like, I saw what they Twittered, it was like, can't see behind Tavi's bow or something. It's like, I mean, I thought they were just sort of like making a joke.
I thought it was a joke too.
But then all of a sudden it's like bloggers and editors and
I went back and read the tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I went back and read the tweet a couple days later. I was like, did I miss something? Like, you know, and I didn't understand. And I just
for a publication like The Independent to make one article revolving around that one thing is, I think, just shows how much, you know, frivolous filler material they have.
It's so wasteful.
Yeah.
Well, I have a completely different experience with the bloggers versus editors with you guys, because I sort of make my trade photographing the editors. And I remember when I first started a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, I started my first season. It was me, and that's when I met Tamm. It was his first season in Paris. And we were taking photographs outside in the Tuileries in Paris, or at the tents at Bryant Park, or wherever. You know, editors were just sort of, and buyers were sort of reluctant, or just sort of hesitant, or would look at us like we were little fleas. Oh, okay, you know, fine, we can take a picture. And then as time went on and these photos became more popular, I think a lot of editors realized that that street style photographers can really raise their profiles. I mean, how many of you people know who Kate Lanphier, Anna Della Russo, Giovanna Battaglia are because of, you know, Jack and Jill, or Street Keepers, or Toilets and Roms, you know, getting these photos outside fashion shows. So I think now editors are really friendly to us, smile, say, hi Phil, great to see you. So I have a completely different experience. I mean, then I guess.
They heart you then.
That's my face. I mean, only to my face.
I think that if editors really didn't want bloggers to gain success, they wouldn't be willing to feature them in their pages.
Yeah.
That's the most hypocritical thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't think there is a fight. I really
No, I
think
don't
it's
think
like
so.
this thing I read about, like it's, and I don't see it in New York, in Paris, wherever, you know, it's not. It seems like.
I mean, I think from like a European perspective, in Paris and in London, actually, you know, bloggers have been a lot slower, you know, like for PRs, for designers, you know, they're slower on the uptake in terms of kind of accepting bloggers. And I actually think New York is probably like more of a, you know, breeding ground for, you know, bloggers going to shows, etc. You know, very much so in Paris, it's still, you know, a bit of a question mark, you know, like what is it that they do? And I think it's only really last season that, you know, in Milan, when you know, Dolce & Gabbana invited Bryanboy, Jack and Jill, and, you know, that they've really kind of started to set up and listen. Is my mic still not on? I feel like I'm talking really quietly. Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay. But yeah, I mean, definitely, it's still a bit of a question mark, definitely over that.
And I do think, well, just really quickly, like I do think that in the debate, bloggers and editors are like generalized. So it's like, well, some editors, I guess, aren't too happy about it, but some are so up for it, and some bloggers maybe, I don't know, are what I don't remember what the argument is about again, but like maybe some bloggers. I mean, just everyone's different.
Well, they're saying that bloggers don't belong in front row.
Oh, well, if you generalize it like that, it's just like people that own computers can be in the front row. Like,